I did like my undergraduate like honors thesis on like disproportionate discipline. I picked 2 schools with like very different demographic profiles. I interviewed staff from there, and it was like astounding, like just the different ways in which they talked about discipline, like the different ways in which they even talked about their kids, and like kind of like the ways it was handled. And so I knew that I wanted to be able to be an advocate for students, and I always have like that soft spot in my heart for students who kind of have trouble with their behavior, because I don't want to see that happen to them, obviously, and I want them to be able to make those good choices and kind of like work with them and know that like someone can believe in them and know that we're like on the same team. And that's why I think our deans here do a really great job of being restorative. A lot of our kids have been through a lot, and so they've either seen things happen like with their families, or just seen how things tend to go. Like they feel like, oh, no one else graduated in my family, so I'm not going to graduate in my family. Like they just kind of have those like preconceived notions based on what they've seen. Or sometimes, I mean, even as educators or as parents and as everyone, like no one's perfect. We may be kind of like unknowingly highlighting challenge areas for students rather than like focusing on their strengths. I talk about the self-fulfilling prophecy a lot with the kids. Like if you believe you can't, then you're right. If you believe you can, then you can. Like trying to really get them to believe that like they can break generational curses, or they can like, you know, be something, they can be whatever they want to be if they like believe it.
If I gave you a magic wand and you could use the magic wand to eliminate one student self-imposed barrier that you see quite often, what barrier would you eliminate?
It's funny you say that, because I always tell the students, like, I don't have a magic wand. So, like, I can't fix, you know, actual things. We have to focus on what you can control. So just funny you say that. But probably just, like, those self-limiting beliefs, because I really do believe that, like, I tell students all the time, like, you're going to be impacted by your environment. You're going to be impacted by all these things that you can't control at this age, but you can control so much, and you have to believe that. Like, I feel like a lot of students are like, well, I can't because, you know, my family, or I can't because my teachers just don't like me, or, you know, all those things that students sometimes can like internalize. And if they would just say, even if those things are true, which in a lot of cases they're not, but even if they were, you could still rise above that if you like do it for yourself and you put the work into the future that like you want to have.
Explain how your role is not just as a student social worker, that your work extends beyond the students and extends out to assisting their families as well sometimes.
That's been a really, really rewarding part of my job that I've grown in a lot in the past like couple of years. I felt like, you know, it was hard with like the pandemic and everything, and it was so focused on like the kids and not as much with their families, whereas now I've really seen like the importance of engaging families. And it was hard. Like last year, the seniors were my first group ever of going from freshman to senior. And so some of those families I was super close with too, and it was very hard. Like I still sometimes hear from like some of the parents, they're like, oh, I miss talking to you every day, or like, you know, like kind of giving me an update on like how things are going. Or this year at parent-teacher conferences, obviously like normally parents come when there's something going on, like that's not going well, because they want to talk through it. But I actually had a couple families this past year come and like want to talk to me about how well things are going and like how happy they are that like things are going well, like giving like me a hug and stuff. And it was just really sweet to kind of see that like I've built that type of relationship with them to where like they feel like they want to share in their joy with me of like things that their child is accomplishing. And that's pretty awesome.